My neighbor wants us to pay for her child's medical bill after repeatedly warning them not to play on our property, so instead of paying, I sue them for trespassing. We bought our house last year. The moment we first viewed it, we noticed something odd. Bikes scattered across the driveway, toys everywhere, and the side yard looked like a construction site with random holes dug into the dirt. We figured the previous owners had kids. At our final walkthrough before signing, we showed up to find 3 kids in our driveway drawing with sidewalk chalk and riding scooters. We introduced ourselves and asked where they lived. They pointed to the house next door. After the walkthrough, my wife and I walked over to introduce ourselves to their parents. We mentioned we were buying the house, and with moving trucks coming in and out, it wasn't safe for the kids to be playing in our driveway. The parents seemed understanding. They nodded and said they'd keep the kids on their own property. Move-in day came and went without incident. The kids stayed away from the driveway, which was great, but within a week, the toys reappeared in our side yard. We'd come home from work to find bikes lying in our grass and fresh holes dug everywhere. We went over and politely asked them to have the kids clean up the toys and stop digging. The mother actually laughed and said the previous owners always let the kids try to dig for fossils in the yard. I said, well, we're the new owners, and we don't want the kids playing or digging in our yard. She gave us this look like we were being unreasonable, but she agreed. 2 weeks later, the bikes were back in our driveway. Our security cameras picked up the kids riding around, doing tricks, and drawing elaborate chalk murals all over the concrete. We went back to the neighbor's house. This time we were more direct. No kids in our driveway, our yard, or drawing on our property. The neighbor did that thing where she sighed dramatically and said, the previous owners never had a problem with it. I replied, we're not the previous owners. This is our property now. My wife suggested we put it in writing, so we sent a certified letter clearly stating the kids were not permitted on our property for any reason. We got the signed receipt back. Legal proof we'd warned them. For about 3 weeks, things were quiet. Then last Sunday, I was in the garage working on some projects. I pulled my truck out into the driveway so I'd have more room to work. About 20 minutes in, I heard the familiar sound of kids laughing. I walked out to see 2 of them riding bikes in circles on our driveway. I told them, guys, you can't ride your bikes here. Please go home. They looked at me, didn't say anything, and slowly started riding toward their house. Not even 5 minutes later, I heard them again. Then a scream. I dropped my tools and ran out. One of the kids had ridden his bike at full speed straight into the side of my parked truck. He was on the ground crying, his bike's front wheel completely bent. Before I could even process what happened, the mom came running out of her house screaming at me. She was accusing me of hurting her kid, saying I caused this, that we were monsters for parking in our own driveway. The other kid, to his credit, immediately told his mom that wasn't true. He said his brother wasn't paying attention and rode right into the truck, but she wasn't listening. My wife came outside to see what the commotion was about. That's when the neighbor really lost it. She got right in my wife's face and said, you're going to regret this. You're going to pay for what you did. We tried to explain that their kid shouldn't have been on our property in the first place, but she stormed off, taking both kids with her. That night around 8, the dad showed up at our door. He was calmer than his wife, but equally insistent. He said we were responsible for their son's medical bills. He'd fractured his wrist and needed stitches on his chin. I told him we weren't responsible and that his kids had been repeatedly told not to play on our property. He said that didn't matter. In his mind, we'd created a dangerous situation by parking in our own driveway. The next morning, we pulled up all our security footage. It clearly showed me telling the kids to leave. The angle didn't catch the actual collision, but it picked up the audio of the crash and, critically, the other kid telling his mom exactly what happened. We called our homeowner's insurance and sent them everything. The certified letter receipt, the video footage, timestamps of every interaction. Our agent reviewed it and said if the neighbors try to file a claim, they'll fight it aggressively. He also suggested we file a police report. We went to the police station that afternoon. The officer who took our report looked at the evidence and said we had a solid case for harassment and trespassing. He said the neighbors were trying to intimidate us into paying. Yesterday, I contacted a lawyer. After reviewing everything, he said we should flip this situation. Instead of waiting for them to sue us, we're suing them for trespassing, harassment, and property damage from all the holes their kids dug. This morning, they were served. They wanted me to pay medical bills for an injury that happened on my property after I'd warned them 4 separate times to stay away. Now they're paying legal fees, and I'm filing a countersuit for every cent this has cost us.